Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey. Sometimes we got to talk about stuff that stars people that we don't really want to talk about. And we've done it here on the show, and a lot of times we don't reference those guys because we don't really want to talk about what they did and stuff they said and how they're not great people. And you know, look, let's be straight, man. If you're a fan of anything that's even remotely related to an entertainment, a form of entertainment, you probably like someone or enjoy a singer or a rapper or like an actor or a musician who's probably not awesome. They've probably done things in their time that would shock you. Yeah, they may have just done them last week. Or they may have done them last week, but you won't know about it till next week. That's the nature of the beast. That's the curse of liking famous people. Famous people will let you down, which is why we shouldn't idolize them. My soapbox. Anyway, we're talking about one of those guys here today because, man, we've talked about Mel Gibson on this show before, and we have sung his praises. Phil and I both have. Because, man, this guy is a phenomenal actor. But, buddy, let me tell you, not the best dude. Never met him, but from everything that, if all you can do is go based off of what he has said and things he's done, it's not looking great for him being a really, really good dude. But we're talking about Payback. And I got to tell you, man, Payback's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I cannot believe it took us this long to do it on the show. That's how much I love it. I adore this flick. I'm just spoiling it right now. I adore this movie. It's wacky, but it's hip and it's cool. It's everything I needed it to be. Haven't seen it in a long time. Can't wait to talk about it. And we're going to dig into it here today without going too far in the weeds about the guy we just talked about. Although I make no promises, we'll see where it takes us. But first, let's do this. Payback is a 1999 American neo-noir action thriller film written and directed by Brian Helgeland in his directorial debut and starring Mel Gibson, along with an assorted cast of actors. It is based on the novel The Hunter by Donald E. Westlake, using the pseudonym Richard Stark, which had earlier been adapted in the 1967 film Point Blank. During post-production, Helgeland was removed by Gibson and the producers, who rewrote and reshot substantial portions of the film, including a different third act and a new villain played by Chris Christopherson. This version of the film was released by Paramount Pictures in February 1999 and received mixed reviews from critics, and that's what we're talking about here today. In 2006, Helgeland issued a director's cut entitled Payback Straight Up that differs substantially from the version released by the studio. This new version received a more positive reception and is generally considered superior to the theatrical cut. We are, in fact, discussing the theatrical cut, in case you are wondering. Production company on this is Icon Productions, as we said, distributed by Paramount. Release date February 5th, 1999, 101 minutes total, 90 minutes for the director's cut. The budget for this movie was $90 million, and the box office is $161.6 million. And that is your lowdown for Payback. I guess we're calling it Payback the theatrical cut now, Phil. By the way, did you know about a second cut, a director's cut? Because I don't even know if I even knew this.
Yeah, I've never seen a director's cut.
I wonder how much different it is, man. Now I want to see it. Now it's a matter of finding it. So you and I have discussed Payback here before. We've mentioned it on other episodes, but in passing, and we've never dove in, and we're going to do it here today. What do you think about this movie, man? How many times have you seen it, and when's the last time you saw it?
I haven't seen it in a long time. Very quirky movie, like you said. It's one of those movies that Mel Gibson is known best for. I feel like there was a time period where it was on network television a lot. It was on TBS or TNT a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's great. It has like this hard boiled noir style to it with like the narrations and everything to it. But it doesn't feel dated. It doesn't feel like one of those old detective films. It feels like I don't know, it feels like something, hip for that time period in the late 90s. It feels like the vibe that Bendis was going for on a lot of his indie work, if you read any of that stuff.
Mm. This, like you said, it doesn't feel dated. I wonder how they pulled that off. Because I guess maybe, Phil, because the themes are so timeless, right? Like the neo noir, the crime, the guys in the suits, they're well spoken. This movie has so much style, Phil. It's crazy. You think that's why it doesn't date itself?
I think so. I think that that's part of it.
Man, excellent stuff here, kids. If you've never seen this movie, I'm telling you, this is one to watch for sure. You know what I got through this whole movie, Phil? I got serious John Wick vibes through this whole flick.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know if I ever connected the dots here or not between that and this, but I absolutely did it here for sure. Man, I think it's important that we talk about the timeline here too, Phil, because Lethal Weapon 4 was in 98. And then this movie was the year after. Like, this is pretty much a pretty big change from the hero cop thing he was doing in the Lethal Weapon movies, man. Why is this character so different for him, you think?
Yeah, he's a very dark character. He's not, like you said, a good guy cop. And by the end of the Lethal Weapon franchise, he was doing a lot of comedy,
Mm.
and there isn't as much of that here.
Yeah, there's not. Braveheart was in 95. Director and producer. Massive, massive hit that movie was. God, that thing was everywhere. And then Pocahontas later that year in a voice role. Um, Ransom in 96. Ransom's a good flick too, man. What'd you think about that one?
I don't know that I've ever seen all of Ransom.
It's good. Gary Sinise is in it in a role that's unexpected. At least it was for me. I didn't see it coming. Yeah, 99. Dude, I've seen a lot of this movie. I dated a girl at one point. This is one of the reasons why this movie dates. It dates itself for me because of relationship. You and I have talked about this before. Like, does this movie connect to you for a certain period of time or no?
Yeah, I think so. Just because the time period that it came out, and just this time period for Mel Gibson's career. But no, I don't have any like interpersonal reasons why.
Mm.
But yeah, definitely this time period, late 90s, and what this movie was supposed to represent at that time.
Oh, I love it so much. And by the way, dude, I don't know if I knew this was so close. Also, well, actually, in 2000, a year after this, The Patriot came out. So that's interesting.
Yeah, Mel
But
was one of the biggest leading men in Hollywood by this time
it
period.
was.
Um, he was like action movie royalty at this point. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of stuff, man. And man, how far they fall. He's still acting, not for nothing, but
Yeah,
he's still acting.
he's still trying to make this Passion of the Christ sequel too, I guess.
Oh my God, I forgot, man. Until you said it, I forgot all about it. How are you making a sequel to the Jesus movie?
I don't know.
He's back, and this time he's pissed. I don't know. I really want it to be Jesus with machine guns. I really want it to be that
It's because of
badly.
Family Guy. Family Guy has made us all think that that's where it's going.
Oh, did I unintentionally rip that off? I had no idea. Oh my God. Oh, well, I kind of want to see it just so I can see what kind of a massive train wreck it is. But look, in this day and time, Phil, that movie make $1 billion because there's a lot of wacky people out there who'll probably love it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's going to make good money when it does come out.
Yeah, well, I don't be surprised, kids, if you do not see me in line at your local theater to go see, to what is it, Passion of the Christ 2, Jesus is back, or I don't know. something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jesus is pissed. I don't know. Didn't we subtitle that movie as a joke one day? I can't remember now.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess like too passionate, too holy, or something like that.
Oh my, yeah. Now I just want to do a whole show about making fun of the movie we haven't seen yet, or don't want to see. How about that? Look, man, I can't. And you know, dude, there was at one point that Gibson was compared to Steve McQueen in terms of like, you know, his presence, the eyes, the rugged charm he had. Like, man, what happened to all that, dude? What happened, man? Hey, Phil, is the quick answer is nothing happened. That's who he always was.
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't know too much about him until that whole tirade that became infamous now.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew him from the movies because I guess in his heyday when he was really starting to get popular in the 80s and 90s, I didn't keep up with news outside of the movies because I was still a kid. So I just saw the movies.
Yeah, well, look, we won't have to get into it, but basically 91, 2006, 2010, 2014. Yeah, it's not good. Oy vey, I can't even with that. I don't know. Like, you know, there's a video floating around too where he is changing a flat tire for a guy. Have you seen that video?
I'm not.
It's fantastic. It's a Mexican gentleman, and the guy's with his phone out is starstruck. He's so starstruck, and I guess Mel is changing the tire for him. I don't think Mel's changing his own tire, but I could be wrong. But Mel's so cool with him, man. Like, he says something. I forget. The guy's really happy. Like he recognizes him. He's just really starstruck, and he's like fangirling over Mel big time as he's changing his tire. And he says something like, "I won't rob you," or something. Mel's like, "How you know I won't rob you?" And they both have a great laugh out of it. It's great. Like it feels like it's out of a movie.
We don't need another hero.
Oh man, were you a Mad Max guy, by the way?
Not really. I've seen them. I feel like I'm more connected to the newer ones because I've seen them more than the older ones. That makes sense. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just watched Furiosa like a few days ago.
I've seen that first Mad Max movie a bunch because it was another like the Saturday morning afternoon film when I was growing up, dude. Like in the 80s, they was on all the time, like every week. Male with the really short black hair. Yeah, that was him. And then the sequel with Tina Turner when he had the big hair, and Tina had some big hair, and they all had big hair. Thunderdome. Thunderdome? Yeah.
Thunderdome.
Yeah. I never got into the Mad Max stuff, man. Hey, look, I got one for you. I've not seen the new Mad Max films.
Fury Road is very good. I really like Fury Road, and Furiosa is like a prequel to that movie.
Uh-huh.
I think they're both really good movies.
Awesome. See, I haven't not watched them for a reason. I just haven't done it yet. It's just two movies I just have not got to yet, man.
Yeah, if you want a not problematic actor, you could watch Fury Road with Tom Hardy instead of Mel Gibson.
Well, you know what? You sold me. As long as he ain't playing that Venom dude, that's fine. Because I'm not a fan of that. Made that clear here before. Well, look, in this movie, kids, I'll try to get us back. Mel Gibson is Porter. That's all. Just Porter. And Porter's out for the money that's owed to him. Not $130K. For God's sake, it's just 70. Phil, that bit is a running gag in this whole movie, and it's the best thing ever. Every time they get it wrong, Mel rolls his eyes like, "Oh my God, you people! It's 70K. That's all." And like, "You're doing all this for 70,000." I've never forgotten that, Phil. It's a moment of charm that's always stayed with me from this movie.
Yeah, he just wants his half. He doesn't want the whole thing. Just his half.
And he ends up with the whole thing because he's like, "Here's your 130K. There it is." And you can tell he's like, "Well, no, never mind." Like he's like, "Forget it. No one's listening to me." Oh, I found that quite entertaining. By the way, Phil, is this the best cast of villains that we've seen in a movie? Like, the villains are top notch in this film, dude. The upper echelon, anyway.
Yeah, I think to your point when you compared it to the John Wick movies, it has that same feeling of the threat just keep getting escalated. Of
Mm-hmm.
like, at first he's just going after this guy that betrayed him, and then it ends up being the Triad, and then it ends up being an even bigger organization above the Triad. It's just like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
It's the syndicate, then it's the outfit later on. Yeah. Did we establish how long he was out, by the way? Did they ever say how long he was gone?
At the beginning of the movie,
Yeah, it couldn't have been too long, right?
I think that they did. I'm just forgetting.
He had to heal up, of course. And by the way, kids, this movie ends with Mel Gibson all shot up. And dude, that doctor, like that back alley doctor that bad guys use for gunshot wounds, has to down that liquor, like scotch or whatever it is. I don't know liquor, but he crushed like the whole just straight down. Like, let me do this before I try to dig bullets out of this guy. That's a great idea. Like, it's such a visceral, because the way the camera closes in on him, and you're like, it sets the tone, man, from the very first shot of this film.
Yeah.
So
very much a trope.
Very much a trope. We saw it in, I was thinking, the Joker bit in Batman 89, but I don't think that doctor was drinking when that happened.
Yeah. Mirror. Mirror.
Yeah. I did the best. Look what I have to work with. Yeah, all right. So, listen, by the way, this thing gives me more background than I knew. Porter, a former U.S. Marine. Did you remember that being mentioned in the movie?
I did not.
I don't think it was mentioned.
I figured that he had some kind of military training.
He's just too cold, man. He's just too, like, he's stone cold. Like, he doesn't get flustered, doesn't get anxious. He's very confident. He knows what he's doing. He can take care of himself. Yeah, I get that too. Yeah, like maybe he wasn't just a soldier. He was maybe something more than that at one point. Never can tell. Yeah, they so the storyline here, kids, is that he gets betrayed by this guy Resnick, and we're going to go ahead and dive into the cast here. Greg Henry plays Val Resnick, and I'm going to tell you something, Phil. If there's a guy born to play a villain, it is absolutely Greg Henry. He's a smarmy jerk. I mean, everything he's done kind of lends itself to that, or at least a lot of stuff he's done. Perfect guy, just grimy, just bottom of the barrel, hits women, dresses like he's somebody. He acts bigger than he is, betrays a friend or whatever, steals the guy's wife. I mean, dude, this guy does a great job in this film, man.
Yeah, he definitely looks the part. He looks like every 80s villain grown up into a shady criminal. He looks like he could have easily fit in with those Cobra Kai guys.
Ah, very good. Oh my God, that's a great pull. He does look like he fits in with the Cobra Kai guys. That's an insult. Have you used that on anybody? Because it sounds like something we could use on somebody. You fit in with those Cobra Kai guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's a nice piece of trivia that I saw earlier that almost every business tycoon, megalomaniac character in the 80s was based off of our current president.
Well, you know what? That says a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, everybody that voted for him, are you happy? Are you real happy? Are you all having a laugh at us?
Yeah.
Go ahead, have a giggle.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all knew that Biff was clearly influenced by him.
You can so tell. You can so tell, man. Even the hair.
Yes.
Even the hair. God, don't get me started on the hair. By the way, you Marvel kids out there, you'll also know him as Jason Quill, Peter Quill's grandfather in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Yeah, that's right.
Very cool. Yeah, kind of forget about that sometimes.
But yeah, he's done a lot of movies. Done a lot of TV shows. He's been around for a long time.
Dude, he started in 1978. Yeah, dude, he's been around for a while. Yeah, TV started in 76 and is still going. Man, telling you, man, working actor. He does a voice in Creature Commandos. Have you checked that out yet?
I've seen one episode and I haven't gone back to rewatch the rest of the show.
By the way, Invincible is back on Amazon. I have yet to watch the new season.
Yeah, I've seen the first 3 episodes.
Oh, man, how is it?
It's pretty great so far.
Really? I got to check it out.
Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's main event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com.
I'm caught up on the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I cannot believe how much I like that series. It is so good, dude.
Yeah, I haven't seen the few episodes that they dropped this week, but so far I really like it.
If they dropped them this week, I've got to catch up. Do they drop like several at a time?
Yeah, they drop like 2 or 3 at a time.
Okay, good to know. All right. But yeah, he's like I said, he's great here. I mean, just by the way, did you see the betrayal coming? Did you know it was going to go in that direction?
I didn't. I mean, when the movie starts and he's laying on a table and he talks about the betrayal, and there's always a woman, it's always a dame.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's always a woman. These noir films, well, most films got a woman in there somewhere that someone's willing to die for, kill for, betray for. So yeah, that no different here. I thought it was fantastic. I've enjoyed his stuff, and a lot of things he's done I really enjoyed. And like I said, man, the top tier, let's do the top tier of villains because these guys are fantastic. If we're going like bottom up, I forgot John Glover was in this movie, Phil.
Yes, that's right. He isn't.
He is. Great stuff. He's not in very long. He's not in it very long. And his character's name is Phil, right? And John Glover is great in everything he does, man. He's so good. Like, I think he was also born to play a villain, but he was also born to be a comic also. I think his comedy stuff's great as well. We talked about him here on Scrooge most recently, I believe. So yeah, but like the top tier of villains, man, William Devane as Carter. Dude, best speaking voice you'll ever hear. Just great villain, well-dressed, just looks and sounds amazing. I think this guy got his start. Well, I mean, the guy was in Hollywood for a long time. And I think I got to know him through a soap opera, I think. Not a soap opera, one of the primetime soap operas. Can't remember what show it was now. I want to say Falcon Crest. Is that Knots Landing? That's it. Look, man, when I was growing up, my mom watched that stuff, so I watched it with her. Knots Landing. 269 episodes, you could say he was in it. What did you think about him here as Carter? Carter's like the first villain that Porter meets. What do you think about him here?
I think he fits the role. I think he fits the role of the guy. Once you spin the chair around, and it's like, yeah, of course, he's the evil boss of this whole thing. And then there ends up being an even bigger boss behind him.
What's he say? He's like, well, this thing's done by committee, Porter. No. You just keep going up like there's always one guy. There's just one guy. And then they finally get to the one guy who ended up being right. It's good. Yeah. Willem Devane is fantastic. I can't say enough good things about him because Willem Devane leads to Chris Christopherson as, do I have that backwards? Oh, it leads to James Coburn, right? Carter leads to Fairfax, and James Coburn is Fairfax. Another Hollywood legend, James Coburn. I think his line from the movie was absolutely in the trailer when he shoots his suitcase. And he's like, hey, man. He says, he's just killing my alligator bags and shooting holes in my suits, man. That's just mean. That's mean, man. Like, he's very upset about his suits. So good. Fairfax is a great name, by the way. Who thought of that?
Yeah, no, but yeah, it fits. I thought that just the whole Carter and Fairfax thing, it just works.
It works. It's so good. It's so, and dude, he kills Carter over the phone as well.
Yeah.
Because he threatened him with it. And by the he, we're talking about Chris Christopherson is Bronson. So he's the guy at the top. If you're going to have a name, Bronson may as well be it, because that's a great name. We've talked about Chris here before on the show. Phil, great freaking actor. He's in his element here as the top villain, the top heavy, the final boss, I guess, as Bronson. Man, what a stair step of bad guys in this movie, dude.
Yeah. Then you have all of these other like cast of characters along the way. But yeah, I think he fits the bill as the final villain. He's distinguished. He's got like this menacing voice. He just feels like a bad guy. He feels like almost like a Bond villain.
God, he does feel like a Bond villain for sure. Yeah. So here's some weird trivia. For release in Australia, the US tagline, "Get ready to root for the bad guy," was changed to "Get ready to cheer for the bad guy," because, as Mel Gibson himself pointed out, in Australia, to root is slang for to have sex. So get ready to root for the bad guy would not have been a good thing to put.
I did not know that.
I did not know that either. Yeah, would not have been a good thing to put in the promotional material for that movie. By the way, the writer or the director, not director because they've got that wrong here, obviously, but the guy that wrote this, Brian Helgeland, and hopefully I've never, or hope I didn't butcher his name. It's entirely possible. But actually, he was the director. I apologize. He was a director. The writer was different. But supposedly, he was fired from the film 2 days after he'd won his Academy Award for L.A. Confidential.
Wow.
Yeah, but I don't know how that's possible if he's still listed as the director.
I'm sure they probably had to still list him because he directed at least 2/3 of the movie. Because if I remember correctly, he the stuff that was rewritten and reshot was mostly the third act.
Yeah. He was in post-production on this film the night of the Academy Awards, and having been nominated for his L.A. Confidential 97 script, he really hoped he would be named the winner. He said, "I knew that they were getting close to finally removing me off this movie, and he thought winning the Oscar would mean they couldn't fire him." He won. Sean Connery tousled his hair backstage while congratulating him, and that was his Sunday night. And on Tuesday, I got fired. So much for the magic of an Academy Award.
Wow.
Dude. I mean, it sounds like a lot of different personalities, and Mel maybe being the alpha male, perhaps. I don't know. Want to do things his way, maybe.
Yeah. I'm still not sure what happened there. Why did he actually get fired? Especially coming after a high-profile movie like L.A. Confidential. And L.A. Confidential is right in the vibe that this movie is trying to hit. So I'm not sure what happened there. It seemed like this was a perfect fit.
Yeah, and also it's worth noting that although he is listed as the director, his cut of the film is not the theatrical version released to audiences. He clashed with Gibson over Gibson's ideas for the film, and at the end of principal photography, Gibson admitted that he was instrumental in having Helgeland removed as a director before the film was released. Because in 1999, kids, if your name is Mel Gibson, you're probably going to get final say over a guy named Helgeland.
Yes.
Okay.
Mel Gibson was making a ton of money. Said leading man for a lot of massive successful movies at that time period. I have to assume the studio is going to listen to Mel.
I would say so. He's a proven hit, man. Like, he directed films at that point. I mean, I don't know. It sounds more to me like this is just professional disagreements, Phil. This kind of sound like it got a little nasty.
Yeah, could have been some ego stuff, but who knows? But hey, at least, the people that want it, they got the Helgeland cut.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Yeah, release the Helgeland cut. It's all black and white and whatnot. 10 minutes, 15 minutes of additional footage. The CG's better. I don't know.
Hey, but I mean, it seems like he came out of this pretty well, other than being taken out of the theatrical cut, because it seems like most people enjoy the director's cut. So
Maybe that's a statement because the original release of this movie was not received very well. It was mixed reviews, if anything. So something to be said for that, Phil. Maybe this guy was right after all. Begs the question of what he did. The first film that he directed, this is good. This was the first film he directed.
oh wow,
Dude. He had written several films. He was a writer. The first film he was a writer on, he's credited as A Nightmare on Elm Street for The Dream Master. By the time number 4 gets here, Phil, does anybody even care anymore? Like,
the Dream Master.
The Dream Master. He was also a writer on LA Confidential, as we said, on Conspiracy Theory. By the way, that's a Mel Gibson flick. So they knew each other. They worked together. He was a writer on The Postman. We don't like to talk about that too much. Man, Costner's made his share of movies that no one wants to talk about. The Postman's one of them. So after this, he directed A Knight's Tale. So starring the late Heath Ledger.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that really loved that movie. So it's a nice feather in his hat.
I don't know that I've seen it all the way through. Maybe I have. He also directed Bloodwork in 2002. That's Eastwood. That's not bad there. He directed Mystic River again. I'm sorry. He wrote Bloodwork, excuse me. He also wrote Mystic River that Eastwood directed. He wrote The Order in 2003, another Heath Ledger flick. He wrote Man on Fire, starring Denzel. The Taking of Pelham 123, also starring Denzel. This guy does pretty well, man.
Yeah, he's done pretty well in the suspense thriller market, it sounds like.
Oh, get this. Did you know this? He wrote and directed 42.
I did not know that.
I had no clue. That's a really good movie, man.
Yeah, that's quite a great resume.
No kidding. Much better than I thought it would be. Done very, very little television. Looks like only 2 TV credits. So yeah, that was important to kind of run that down. But to your point, man, I think we kind of saw it. Now I want to see the director's cut. I got to find that now. I wonder where I can find it. By the way, speaking of lower tier bad guys, we've got 2 cops. Detective Leary, portrayed by Jack Conley, and Detective Hicks, portrayed by the great Bill Duke. Dude, you talk about a guy that has a look. Bill Duke has a look, man, like menacing. I'm like, I'm not crossing this guy. Like, he scares me. Like, he had that look. You know what I mean? Very good.
Yeah, very stereotypical corrupt cops.
Right?
They just fit the bill. No pun intended. Bill Duke has done work as a police officer in other movies, and looks the part here. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, we can't forget that that he was in Predator. Of course he was. He was one of Arnold's guys. And wasn't his gimmick like the matchstick through the whole movie, I think? He had the matchstick in his mouth, I believe.
Yes, I think so.
Pretty sure. I can't remember his character's name now. I don't know how I forgot that character's name. See, he was also Action Jackson. Explain to me why Action Jackson never got a part 2, by the way.
I have no idea.
Oh, Carl Weathers, man. Good Lord.
Yeah, rest in peace to the great, legendary Carl Weathers.
No kidding. Jeez. I felt like he was just getting fired back up too, man. It was really good seeing him doing things again.
Yeah, he's behind the camera doing a lot of the directorial stuff. I thought he was on the cusp of being able to do something big, and unfortunately, it didn't happen. Bill Duke,
Yeah.
of course, is famous for um, his role in Menace to Society.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a famous line of, "Okay, you know you done messed up now, right? You know you messed up right now."
Yeah. You done effed up. You know that, don't you? Yeah. Yeah. He worked with Mel again in Bird on a Wire as an FBI agent. He was also Trask in X-Men The Last Stand, but we don't talk about that.
I didn't even remember that, but
Me neither. But we've tried to forget the film, Phil. So just saying. He also did a little bit of directing. He accidentally secured a directing job on Knots Landing.
accidentally, he
Yeah.
accidentally get a
Yes, listen.
directing role.
Due to a secretarial or clerical error at AFI Conservatory. However, the producers were pleased with his work and he was kept on, eventually directing 10 episodes of the show. That's awesome. They're like, wait a minute, who's this guy? Oh, he's doing pretty good. Let's keep him on. That's wonderful. He also directed 6 episodes of Falcon Crest, and he directed episodes of Dallas. Dude, did you know all this?
No, I did not know that.
I had no idea. That's crazy. He had cameos, Hill Street Blues, Miami Vice, and Starman. And he said he credits the benevolence and humanity of people like Larry Hagman and Jane Wyman for his early TV directing success. While he occasionally heard derogatory remarks and even racial slurs from crew members, including the Teamsters. I've always heard Larry Hagman was a class act. Don't know how true that is, but never really heard anything bad about that guy, man. J.R. Ewing. Like, dude, without J.R. Ewing, we don't get John Bradshaw Layfield and that cowboy, that rich Wall Street gimmick, man. Because that's where that came from. So, interesting. He also directed TV movie The Killing Floor in 1984. And he directed A Rage in Harlem in 1991, Deep Cover in 1992, and Hoodlum in 1997. How do I not know about all this?
I knew some of his directing credit, but I didn't know some of the stories behind it.
Did you know Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit, he directed?
I did not know that. I knew he was in. Isn't he in that movie as well?
I think so.
I knew he was in it, but I don't remember him directing it.
Well, I know it's on your favorite movies of all time list.
Yeah, it's a classic movie.
Part 2.
Second movie is a classic movie.
Second movie. I haven't seen either one of them in years. It's been a long time.
If you were a kid at that time period, especially a kid that went to Catholic school like I did, you saw that movie tons of times. And of course, like all the choirs sang all the songs from it. The classic movie.
I don't know if I knew you went to Catholic school. Have you ever told me that?
I'm pretty sure I did.
Man, why?
And if I did, I might have just forgot.
Like sidestepped it. Like, is this something you have fond memories of or no?
It's just one of those things where, I went to Catholic school. I don't know. Well, I also like my family was very religious, so like I did a lot of church growing up.
Yeah, same. All Southern Baptist for me, which we don't have to talk about that. But,
on both sides. My dad's parents were very religious. They were Baptists, and my mother's Catholic. So I've gone to both sides. I've gone to a lot of Baptist church, and I've gone to a lot of Catholic. Also went to Catholic high school. So a lot of.
Because you have family down here too, somewhere, don't you, in the South?
A lot of family in Mississippi.
That's it. Yeah.
Both of my parents are from Mississippi. Well, both of my grandparents are from Mississippi. Sorry.
Yeah, I had just basic good old public schooling, but in church for a lot of years up until I became really in my teenage years when I started asking more questions than I think they wanted me to be asking. And by the time my 20s were here, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm done. So, yeah. Another podcast for another day, I suppose. Tom Clark's 6M podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark's 6M podcast sent you. We haven't mentioned the ladies of this show yet. We've got Maria Bello as Rosie. That is the girl that Porter was driving for at one point that he actually comes back for here in the movie. She's great. She's a tough chick. And also we have Deborah Kara Unger as Lynn Porter. That's the wife of Porter that betrays him, shoots him in the back, darn near kills him, for F's sake. The dynamic of both these girls, do you think it was, coincidence that they both kind of look similar? They're both blonde. Like, is that sort of a subtle way of saying maybe he was searching for what he already had, but his wife was an addict? I don't know. Am I reading too much into that?
I have to assume with the dynamic that they had in the movie that it wasn't a coincidence that they look similar. Building up this whole fake affair thing with Rosie and his wife being jealous of her, and they do look very similar. I think also him trying to find fondness in Rosie after what became of his wife and a tragedy there. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, that's something that kind of always jumped out at me, is that they were similar. And like, they're so similar, in fact, that if you're not paying attention, you might think it's the same actress in a couple of different scenes here.
Yeah, it got confusing a little bit when I first saw it.
Yeah. So, but I thought they both equally did a good job for sure. I enjoyed both their work here. Look, I forgot about Lucy Liu being in this movie. How did I forget about Lucy Liu being in this movie, dude?
Yeah,
She's
very
Pearl.
young, up and coming Lucy Liu.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think she's credited as Lucy Liu early on.
Lucy Alexis Liu.
Yeah, so this is one of her first major roles, and you can see how she took off after this because she is so likable and charismatic in this movie. Every scene she's in, she kind of steals the show.
She's great, dude. When he comes in and he's beating the crap out of Val, and she's getting turned on, man. It's so awesome.
She's just like, no, and then she starts beating him up. It's great.
Yeah. And he hits her back, and Porter puts a gun on him. He says, "Let her work." She just tears him up, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, the scene where all the other Triad guys get shot, and she's just like hanging out the window with the gun, and then it clicks, and she's just looking around. Like, her facial expressions and everything are just great.
And man, she would have killed Porter later in the movie. Like, had the gun right at him. Man, so close. So close. I mean, she's connected to, I thought this was the Yakuza, but I guess it's the Triad makes more sense. But that's the money that's the gang that they steal the money from. And of course, later on, Val, rats him out that he's back in town. And of course, they come looking for the money. I'm sure you could build a whole Mythbusters episode about him laying underneath that SUV and shooting up through the floor. But we don't have to talk about it. I forgot all that bit too,
Yeah, he's under there with the two guns, and yeah. 90s action movies. Come on.
90s action movies.
If you think about it too hard, it's gonna immediately fall apart.
And when he cut the fuel line under the car and drops that cigarette, and it blows up like he just got hit with a missile. Like, every time that happens, I'm like, that's not what happens. Like, Again, I've watched a lot of Mythbusters in my time, so.
I love when he first comes out and they're like, he's behind us. And then he drops the cigarette and then they're all in a car screaming, watching this fire come up towards them. I'm like, why don't you guys just get out the car?
Just get out the car, man. Like, are the doors locked? Unlock the doors and get out the car. Yeah. I don't get that either. Didn't make any sense to me. Real quick, also, we talked about the look of this movie. This is not aged film. It's not. Good Lord, when they make this movie, that's not what happened. So supposedly Gibson thought it would have been a great idea to shoot in black and white, but that people want a color image. And so for this film, they used what's called a bleach bypass process to tint the film. And in addition to this, the production design used muted shades of red, brown, and gray for costume sets and cars for further effect.
Yeah, it definitely has like that noir, dark look to it without it being outright black and white.
I think it's a great choice. I mean, it's bold, right? But I think it was a great idea.
Yeah, it definitely adds to the character of the film. It's a part of the whole, of course, like the cinematography and everything. But because the movie has this noir vibe, it definitely fits like that genre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it fits. I just love the way it looks. I love that it looks different. But yeah, I think it really adds to it. By the way, they never mention the city they're in, do they?
No.
They don't really need to, I don't guess.
Yeah, when you look at some of the subways, it kind of looks like Chicago, but then it has that big bridge, which makes me think that can't be Chicago. So I don't know. It might
Well,
have been shot in multiple locations.
you know your city, my friend. It was shot in Chicago and Los Angeles.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, just the way certain buildings looked and the subway, which is, of course, we know it has that gothic look that fits the noir films because, of course, it was used in the Batman films.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mac. Bill Duke played Mac in Predator. Wasn't that the character's name?
Yes.
Pretty sure. That's it. Yep. By the way, we got one character left, really, we hadn't talked about. David Paymer as Arthur Stegman. I got one question for you, Phil. You're not going to effing kill me, are you? So good. Every noir film needs that little slimy character who like, you don't know how he's made it this long. He's a fast talking, like, and he's just, yeah, kind of a worm.
All of these movies have this kind of character, the Weasley character that you're trying to get the information out of, and he just somehow ekes out and gets away. He's just like, nah, you're not gonna kill me, right? And it's just, I love every time he gets somebody and he's torturing them, Porter, and they're like, they're gonna kill me though. Like, well, what do you think I'm gonna do to you? Like, go, just tell me what you know.
Doesn't he say it a couple times? Worry about me.
Yeah, worry about me. He says it at least 3
awesome.
times.
That's awesome. What a great line. Don't worry about him. Worry about me. Don't worry about what he's going to do to you. By the way, we have to mention this is awesome. Deborah Unger, let's see, who we mentioned in this movie, plays Lynn. That would be Porter's wife. Broke 2 ribs in the scene where Mel Gibson beats her, which is now restored in the director's cut. She stated that she was having fun flying around and getting slammed into things and did one too many.
Wow.
Man. Unreal. According to the director commentary, James Coburn found the prop cigars his character was supposed to use unfit for smoking, so he went to Mel Gibson's trailer. Gibson wasn't there as he wasn't scheduled for shooting at that moment, and helped himself to a few of Gibson's cigars. I love that story. I'll just be taking these. Prop cigars. I'm sure I knew that existed, but like, I guess they had to have options, Phil, if an actor doesn't use tobacco or, I don't know. I guess now they just CG the smoke in. Who knows?
Yeah.
The scene where Porter pickpockets the guy's wallet required an open casting call to find someone who looked reasonably enough like Gibson The guy who got the gig wasn't an actor, but had been told throughout his life that he bore a resemblance to Mel Gibson. That's nice.
Yeah, I love that opening sequence where he's trying to get all the money together to get his life back
great.
together. And so he's like doing all of these like cons and like stealing money, steals the money out of that guy's bowl when he's sitting outside the veteran, which makes it even funnier now thinking about it that he's a Marine and he steals money from another veteran.
He does. But the guy was scamming people. He wasn't crippled.
Yeah.
Jumped up. He's like, wait, stop it. He's like, I cured you, right? Oh, that's great. Yeah. So there was originally a scene where Porter rips out the eye of one of the guards in the outfit's building where his ex-partner Val is. For some reason, this scene was not included in the theatrical nor director's cut of the movie and is only available in a very rare bad quality work print. That's interesting.
Work print. Every time I think about work print, I think of that first Wolverine movie because that's how a lot of us saw that movie because the work print made it onto the internet.
That's right. You're right. Yeah. Forgot all about that. Man, we've talked about Gibson here before and about being a heavyweight such as he is. And, man, in a different world, had the MCU happen 10 years earlier. You know where I'm going with that, right? Like, I think Gibson was always one of those names that fans were casting as whoever,
Yeah, he was thrown around a lot for Wolverine. So, yeah, probably would have happened.
Yeah, I'm sure we would have talked about it. I'm sure we have talked about it, put it that way. Yeah. Let's see, what else? As far as getting fired for shooting a dog in the film, I think the other reason I got fired is this scene in the meat truck. I'm guessing that's what Helgeland is talking to the director. Porter shoots an unarmed man in cold blood, and while Noah complained that he did the same to Willem Dafoe's character, Helgeland caught grief for that one. He explains the killing simply by saying that the man insulted Rosie, and now that Porter is back to looking out for her, that kind of transgression can't stand.
But I thought the whole tagline of the movie is that Porter is not a good guy, so why does it matter?
Yeah, it shouldn't matter. Yeah, it shouldn't matter. So here's a nice little bit that I didn't know. Every time Porter says syndicate when referring to the mob, he is told that it's now called the outfit. First by Val and then by Rosie and later by Carter. Each time Porter doesn't understand the difference. The difference is that the syndicate refers to the New York Mafia and the outfit refers to the Chicago Mafia. Though that is not outright said so, many of the landmarks would indicate the film is set in Chicago, thus the need to correct Porter on the difference.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. By the way, did you pick up on the rotary telephones in this movie?
I did notice that. There were specific scenes I noticed it in.
Yeah, almost all the phones in the movie. Even in the limousine. The limousine phone has a cord attached to it. It's a rotary phone, dude. It's not even a bag phone. When I saw that, I'm like, wait a minute. Let me go back and watch that again. Yeah. Anyway, the only character out of the outfit to understand that Porter's cut is $70,000 is Carter's henchman, Phil. He was it. John Glover was the only one that understood. It was just $70,000. Dude, I only want what's owed to me. That makes this film for me, Phil. Like it, if his goal had been, I'm here to take the whole thing down. By the way, Phil, he took the whole thing down. Like, dude, no one's left. The outfit's done, dude. There's literally no one left.
Yeah, happenstance. They just happened to get in his way. He just wanted what he was owed. He didn't want to have to do any of that. He just wanted what he was owed.
It makes the movie, dude. That to me it's part of the charm. It's part of the humor of this. It's awesome. I just think it makes it that much better, man. I've seen this movie so many times, it's not even funny. The stuff he says to the bad guys when he's threatening to kill Carter, Willem Dafoe, and he's talking to Bronson. Bronson's like, "Are you threatening me?" And he goes, "I'm not threatening you. I'm threatening Carter." It's wonderful. And Pearl, that was Lucy Liu's character. He's going to leave. She goes, "Hey, I've got a few minutes." He goes, "So go blow an egg." Go blow an egg. Oh, that's great. I mean, it's a very quotable movie. Again, the look of it's fantastic. I just can't get enough of this. It's still connected to somebody for me. I'm going to be honest with you. It's still connected to somebody who really genuinely loved this movie. And she and I watched it. And I haven't really ever thought about it in a long time, but like suddenly I'm, flash back into that. Very odd. Some stuff's connected. Is there anything like you're really into that is forever marked because of a relationship?
Yeah.
Like in a bad way?
I don't know if it's necessarily in a bad way, but I think it was just somebody that I really cared about. And, we watched all the movies, like the Hobbit movies. We watched all of the Hobbit movies together. And so, yeah, it's linked, just stuff like similar music and stuff, similar tastes and things we had.
Yeah. What they say about, like you said, having similar things in common. That's all great when things are working. When things no longer work, right? Like if it's something you enjoyed together that you weren't into, you can just put that down. But if it was something you loved that person loved with you, oh man, that's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's something they really liked and you were just like enjoying it because they enjoyed it, then it's like, oh, I can just cut that out altogether. It doesn't matter to me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this movie is connected. It's not incredibly bad. It's enough that, I'm sitting here kind of thinking back a little bit. At the end of the day, Phil, we've talked a lot about movies that should or shouldn't get sequels. He meaning Porter, basically narrates this movie as in voiceovers. And at the end, he says, basically lets you know that they're heading to Canada because, they got to get away now because if there's anything left of this outfit, they're going to be looking for him. He says, "We went for breakfast in Canada. We made a deal. If she'd stopped hooking, I'd stop shooting people. Maybe we were aiming high." And that's how the movie ends. Like, is there any way, too late now, but like, could you have imagined a part 2 making sense at all?
Yeah, for sure. Especially with that line at the end, I think you could have easily came back and made another one.
I just wonder how it would have worked out. Look, I'm okay with the John Wick universe being built out. By the way, that new flick that's coming out that he cameos in, I can't remember the name of it now. What's the name of it? Where it's a female assassin in it?
Oh, yeah, it's a spinoff?
Yeah, it's the ballerina. Is it the ballerina?
I think so.
Dude, it looks freaking great, by the way. It looks great. But you know what? If all I'd ever got was the first John Wick, I would have been happy with that.
Yeah, and I think this movie, just the style of movies that it's trying to replicate, I think it makes sense that it was a standalone movie. It didn't need to be a franchise.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I could have, I'll be one and done, be happy with it for sure. Porter, he's only ever Porter. First name's never revealed. No one ever calls him anything but Porter. I think that's a nice little touch as well. It's kind of like the old Eastwood, The Man Without a Name, those characters he played in those old Westerns. I kind of like that. Yeah. And let's see, the main title music is an homage to the film The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 from 1974. So they connected things to, previous movies. The car that Gibson is driving in the beginning is a 69 Plymouth Roadrunner. Great freaking car. There's enough here that ties it up, ties it back to previous work. And again, it's not dated, but, there's enough of a noir, mood here that you could watch this movie 20 years from now and still be entertained by it, which is pretty cool. But like you said, I think it's a good idea to kind of be one and done. By the way, did you see Get the Gringo in 2012?
I did not.
So I don't know if this is fan theory or what, there are possible connections between Porter in Payback and his character Driver in Get the Gringo. Besides Gibson's character being a thief, both Payback and Get the Gringo, both films are narrated by Gibson's criminal character. His character is a single name in both films. In Get the Gringo, the character explains how he once was married, but his wife ran off with a former business associate, which is the plot of Payback, where his wife and business partner double-cross him to steal his cut and run away together. The only subtle difference between the two characters is their military background and associated tattoos. In Payback, Porter was an ex-Marine, and in Get the Gringo, he's a former U.S. Army sniper. I'm sure all these are just very much coincidence.
Yeah, probably coincidence. Probably that these movies have similar premises. So, yeah.
Well, it's also worth noting as we wrap up here, the film cast includes 2 Oscar winners, Mel Gibson and James Coburn, and 2 Oscar nominees, Chris Christopherson and David Paymer. So, again, a big-time cast here, kids, for sure. Big-time cast. So, Phil, at the end of the day, we started this off talking about Gibson. I mean, I don't know how this guy, I don't know if he's trying to rehab his image, don't know if he cares. He's still getting work. It's not like he's blacklisted or anything. I hate to be defeatist in my attitude here, Phil, but it kind of feels like you can do anything you want now. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. What's your like opinion of this guy now? Do you have one or no?
Yeah, I'm kind of overall indifferent. Overall, I can't say that I'm like this massive fan of him based on some of the other stuff, but I can't say that some of the stuff stops me from enjoying his older movies like this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely don't think I'd go out of my way to watch a newer Mel Gibson movie. I don't know.
You're not going to watch Passion of the Christ 2?
Is he going to be in it, or is it just is he just directing it?
I don't know. Passion of the Christ 2, A New Nightmare. I don't know what they're calling it.
Nightmare.
I just want to piece together other movies now and just make it funny. I think I did this online one day trying to have fun with it. Couldn't think of anything great. I'm not so smart after all. I don't know. Passion of the Christ 2, bigger, longer, and uncut. I don't know. That's probably way funnier than what I'm giving it credit for. Yeah, I'm indifferent too. It upset. I wish he wasn't a good actor. If he sucked, I wouldn't care. But he's so freaking good at what he does, man. Like, it upsets me.
I mean, that is the unfortunate thing about the world we live in. A lot of people that are not great people are very good at something. And it's just how it is. Like, there are a lot of athletes that are very good at what they do, but also pretty terrible in their personal lives. Same thing with actors and all these other people.
Pretty terrible people. Yeah. There's, I listened to a podcast that counts down the 500 greatest rock and roll songs of all time. And it includes every, like, Motown, you name it, it includes it. And man, I'm finding out stuff about people I never wanted to know about, and it's very disheartening. Like,
musicians, yeah, a lot of musicians have stuff about them that we probably don't want to know. We're both wrestling fans. There are a lot of wrestlers that have terrible skeletons in their closet that probably don't want to know about. For sure.
Well, kids, we started on that note. We're going to end on that note. So you're welcome for the positivity. But look, if all else fails, Payback's a great freaking movie, kids. So that's my 2 cents. But Phil, let's get out of here with your last word on Payback.
Yeah, I think it's a great movie. I think it's easily one of those movies you can look at as a neo-noir influence for a lot of stuff that's come afterwards. There's a reason why it was a fixture on network television at one point. I think it's one of the lasting vestiges from Mel Gibson's career. I'm sure it will be, long after he's gone.
Yeah, I agree. And to Phil's point, a lot of people you admire and have appreciated their work over the years have done some really bad stuff, said some really dumb things, and are guilty of a lot of other things too. So unless you plan on not watching anything, I guess you can. But then life would get boring with no movies, TV, music, books, magazines. Basically, my whole show is over. I mean, I'm just saying, nothing left to talk about if we stop talking. Because, everything's been touched by some kind of nonsense in the past. So, something to think about. By the way, kids, it does not mean you agree. It does not mean you are validating behavior. It just means that, and again, this can change based on the offense. Of course, some things I don't want to be connected to at all. Don't care how much I like the actor involved. But, I'll leave that for you to decide. Not for me to decide your morals. Unlike some other people in this country, I don't take what I believe to be moral and upright and force you to act that way as well. Okay? Not my call what you do. As far as I know right now today, we're still a free country, but fingers crossed we stay that way. That's all I'll say. So we'll end it before I say anything else to possibly get me in trouble. Stay tuned, kids, and that Passion of the Christ 2 review will be coming. I'm just kidding. We're probably not going to do that. But we'll probably joke about it when it happens. So that'll be fun too. Stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, that is Payback. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.